Thank you all for coming, and we're going to get started right away. The layout for this evening is Nirja has prepared some very special remarks meant to inspire and help you internalize and think of yourself as a judge, perhaps in a way that you haven't thought about. And then when she is done with her presentation, we're going to go over rules, eligibility, what the forms look like, the mechanics of serving as a judge during a speech contest. So it is my greatest pleasure to ask Nirsha to share her screen. Let's get started.
Thank you, Sarah, Contest Manager of District 83, and thank you, Hadian Grand PQD, for such a wonderful introduction. I hope we are true to the expectations tonight. I'm going to just quickly share with you the slide. I have a lot to cover, but I want you to think about judging by first knowing why do we judge, who the judge is, what's the purpose of judging. Then I'm going to cover what is the difference between evaluation and judging. Sometimes we do get confused. Okay, I evaluate a speech all the time. So how is it different? I'll also talk about what are some of the qualities of a good judge, some of the obstacles that hinders fair judging, and some of the misconceptions. These are, and I'm going to talk all these, and then we will open the question answers at the end once Sarah has completed her presentation. And hopefully this will help you prepare and take some of the fear away and some of the hesitance you might have towards not putting your name in the hat away from you. So the purpose of a judge is to select the best speaker for that day, not yesterday, not previous times you have heard the presentation, for that day in that contest only. So you have to block everything else. That's your purpose as a judge. And what is evaluation, you may ask? Evaluation is a little bit different. Evaluation is against a given objective of a presentation that you assess and provide the feedback to the presenter to improve for the future. So you are giving suggestions against a set objective. That's evaluation, and you do all the time. Based on our pathway presentations, you are given an objective, and then you are, based on those objectives, you evaluate and encourage the presenter to be better. So what is the difference between evaluation and judging? You may think. So evaluation, because evaluation is against certain criteria, given criteria and objective, whereas judging has also a specific criteria, but not objectives. It does not have objectives, not, okay, the speech has to be within this frame. No, it has criteria. 50% this, 10% this. So 50% say content, 10% say grammar or delivery, whatever that criteria is. So one is against criteria and other is against objective. Two different things. And judge does not provide feedback. Judges, assessment is confidential and very objective. So they are objective. They have given a very specific criteria to judge, and they are confident. Their assessment is confidential, highly confidential. Whereas evaluation, you are providing feedback. They don't provide any feedback, feature improvement. So since you know what is a basic difference in evaluation and judging. You want to go to judging with that specific criteria that is given to you in judges eligibility form and judges ballot. You are going to use that based on judges guideline and rules. So you may think, okay, I have evaluated all the time, so how can I be a good judge? There are certain very specific expectations Toastmaster International has posed upon us to become a good judge. Fair and impartial is the first one, because our judges' utmost role is to be very objective, which means you are going to be fair and impartial. You will not consider a contestant's race or affiliation with any club, area, division, districts, their professional affiliation, their political views. None of that will be affected while you are judging their presentation. So you are not going to consider any of these, regardless of their beliefs, regardless of their religion, regardless of their affiliation of any clubs. You will just think them as a presenter for that day, and you have not heard their speeches any other time, to maintain that utmost objectivity. Accurate, of course. As a judge, you want to be very accurate, which means you are going to go through the judging criteria and you are going to assess a presenter based on that criteria. Make sure that you are maintaining objectivity and you are telling the evaluation or the assessment you are providing, not evaluation, not the correct word, the assessment you are providing for that presentation. The points you are going to tally those correctly. So accuracy is another area that makes you a good judge. Trustworthy. You need to be trust, because you need to understand that, look, your audience, the contestants, the contest officials, Toastmaster International, all of these entities have entrusted upon you this responsibility of being very fair and objective. Keeping that in mind, you need to uphold their trust, which means you need to make sure you learn what are the judging criteria, which Sarah is going to tell you later in later session. And you need to be knowledgeable. What do you mean by knowledgeable? Okay, you need to read the new rules. Not every year, but very often there are amendments to the previous rules based on where we are. Before Zoom, there were some certain rules that were not there, and now there are new rules. So you need to make sure that what are those new rules are, what is the guidelines, judges guidelines are, and you need to read page 1 to all the way to the end. And if you have any questions, reach out to Sarah, you reach out to your PQD, and make sure that you clarify any ambiguity you may have in your mind. Do not go by your assumptions. That is what is expected from a good judge. And of course, you need to be good listener. You are not distracted with any of, sometimes you go to this thinking zone. No, you are present at that time while you are judging. You are fully present. That is a quality. That are some of the qualities of good judges. And I'm sure you are Toastmaster, but keeping this in mind keeps you in that frame and mindset while you are judging, and taking your dedication to this role seriously. So what are some of the barriers of objectivity? This is very important, and I cannot put more weight on this. Very often, in fact, researchers say that when you have a list of things, we tend to remember the very first item on the list or the very last item on the list. So when you have five or six contestants lined up and they have spoken one by one, we as judges, sometimes as human beings, the way our brain process information, we tend to remember the first contestant and the last contestant. And we forget in between. So we need to be mindful that we need to remember, even if we are judging one by one and giving our assessment and points to each contestant, we need to make sure that while we are breaking our own tally and reassessing, we need to make sure that speaker's position first and last is not impacting our decision while we are judging their presentation. Champion of underdogs, we are human beings, we are empathetic. And if we come to know that so and so contestant has gone through some kind of hardship or is disabled, blind, or anything, we as a human tend to have this empathy, which may put other contestants in not in very good place. So what we need to make sure that we are, even if outside of contest arena, we can be empathetic, we can be human, but there we are a judge. We have huge responsibility of being fair and objective. So we need to not be more lenient towards someone who has gone through a hardship or who is physically disabled or any other weaknesses. Halo effect is another one of the biases. Sometimes a presenter is very charismatic and gives excellent dramatic presentation, and you may get impressed and swayed away by that dramatic presentation. So what you need to do really is think, okay, what am I doing here? Am I judging a theatrical performance or am I judging the content? Am I judging only the delivery or the content? Delivery is only so many percentage of your judging criteria and your content is the king. So need to be mindful, look, this is halo effect of delivery. Delivery could be fantastic, but what about the content? That's a halo effect. And the reverse halo effect is someone has excellent content, but maybe weak in grammar, maybe double splitting the infinitive or weak, not using the preposition correctly. But grammar is only percent or very little of the total 100% of your criteria. So you may be want to mindful of keeping that in mind. Second time around is another one where you think, okay, this you have seen, because we have been Toastmaster for so long, we may have seen same Toastmaster many times being a contestant. In that case, you as a judge are not going to be impacted by the frequency of the performance, which means you have heard that speech earlier, but you are only judging that day, that performance of that presenter, not, oh, the second time around, poor him, he has tried so many times, let's give him some more marks. No, you're being absolutely objective. And no norm is another one. That would be some of the clubs or some of the countries even. People are very professionally dressed, they have certain culture, and you come and say, okay, my club is very professional, always dresses very professionally, has suit on, and this person is walking very casually. That's not your judging. You are judging the content. You are not judging the person here. So you will be really not being impacted by these biases. This will hinder you being a good judge. And some of the misconceptions I'm going to very quickly go through. How many of you think that international speech should be motivational and inspirational? A lot of us, right? A lot of us have this misconception. A lot of, oh, that's not motivational. That's humorous. That the type of a speech does not matter. In fact, humor adds to the as to taking the point across. Speech could be of any type, serious, humorous, inspirational, any type. You are not judging the type of speech. That's a misconception. So please, judges, be careful about that. I'm going to leave questions at the end. I think this is enough. Hope you keep these in mind and just put your name in the hat, and hope you can really become the best judges Toastmaster International, your contestant, audience, and all of us expect you to be. Good luck in being a judge. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Nirja. The reason that I wanted Nirja to speak to us is that her experience as a judge runs deep. And so often, Toastmasters don't see themselves as good contest judges because they're a little intimidated, particularly when they're trying to figure out the difference between evaluating and judging. And I like to think that being a judge is an elevation of your speechcraft experience and your speechcraft skills. When you judge, that listening factor is off the charts. It has to be. So judging and practicing as a judge, if you fall in love with this and you start at the club level maybe, and then you start playing around at the area level and you keep going, you get better and better and more comfortable. The fact is that your speech skills improve because you are watching and analyzing at a completely new level, way beyond just what you do for an evaluation, and knowing that you have to deliver a 2 to 3 minute evaluation in your club presentation. This is your opportunity to hone your skills, to really think hard about what makes a good presentation. What is a great speaker? Always remember that within Toastmasters, we have a Toastmaster style. If you go online and you start looking at things on Reddit, or you look at YouTube videos, it is controversial. And there will be people who say, well, Toastmasters wants you to do it one way and one way only. It's fine. It's just our opinion. We're part of that culture. And what you do outside of Toastmasters is completely up to you. But when you are in Toastmasters, we have a criteria. And I think one of the biggest challenges is to understand what that criteria looks like. That's what we're going to look at next. And form a solid picture in your mind so that you are able to watch one contestant at a time and measure that contestant against that criteria, not contestant against contestant. That's the whole basis for what we do with the ballot and the scoring. We are looking at their criteria and we are looking at that performance and we're giving it a numerical score because that is the way we end up with a ranking. So let me share my screen. Let's go through the basics of everything you need to know, that kind of the mechanicals and the rules and the forms. So let's start out here. Okay, you should see Judges Training 101. Can I get a couple thumbs up? Yes. Okay, perfect. For those of you who are still getting acquainted with me, I'm Sarah McGletty. My district chief judge could not be here tonight. His name is John Niradka, and John wrote part of these slides. So John also is an experienced Toastmaster, experienced judge, and can answer questions. I love this little quote. The best competition is one where everyone feels judged fairly and has the opportunity to excel. That really hits at the heart of what we do in Toastmasters. We are about making great speakers, great communicators, and great leaders. And all three of those things go hand in hand. Okay, your team this year is me as your contest manager. I'm just putting this in the back of your mind. I am still looking for a contest chair. Now, I have a little bit of time, but I would love by the end of December to have named a contest chair who's going to work with me through the season. John is already taken the chief judge, and of course, our PQD is Katie and Grant. There are many resources. If you are uncomfortable about something or you have a question, you can reach out to me anytime. I freely give out phone numbers. You may text, you may email, but if you're an independent person like I am, sometimes I just want to Google the question. Believe me, Toastmasters is wildly optimized. If you've got the question, someone else has already asked the same question and answered it. Those questions are out there. Feel free to Google it. Use Toastmasters.org. Toastmasters.org has amazing resources. You can see tutorials, you can see toolkits, frequently asked questions, and most importantly, I will remind you, mock contest, the first time that we've done this is Saturday morning. And I am recruiting for one more speaker. If you know of anyone, any level, any kind of speech, doesn't matter to me. One more speaker, and I need 2 more judges. So let's go on. All right, let's talk about eligibility. In order to serve as a judge, you must be a paid member for at least 6 months. You must have experience in Toastmasters. Either you have earned level 1 and 2 in Pathways, you've completed the 6 speeches in the Competent Communicators book, that would be the legacy program, or you are a named DTM, and you must be physically present for the contest. Tonight, we are not going to discuss Zoom contests because we're not conducting Zoom contests for our area, division, and district levels, so it does not apply to us. Every judge will need to complete a certification of eligibility. Now, this is just a quick picture of it because I'm going to show you the actual form and point some things out. Every time you compete, you can download this form from TM83, and you will complete it. It is a fillable PDF. Meaning you can click right into the form and type. Little tip, the Toastmaster form does not allow you to checkbox 2 types of contests. So you cannot say, I'm going to be in the international contest and I'm going to do the Tall Tales contest. You have to complete separate forms for those. Now, the workaround would be that you could take the form offline, fix it yourself, and upload that. Work with your contest chair and your chief judge for the contest that you are serving, and they will help you figure that out. The eligibility that I just read to you is also indicated on this form. The most important part is on the back of the form, because that's where we see the code of ethics. And I take this stuff very seriously. I think most Toastmasters do. We want things to be fair. We want them to be honest. So I pay attention to the code of ethics. And when you as a judge sign this form, that is taking an oath. You're saying that I agree to abide by these code of ethics. Let's take a quick look. You agree to uphold core values. You agree to avoid conscious or unconscious bias. You will not consider where these contestants are coming from in the way of club, area, division. You're not looking at any kind of age, race, color, creed, sex. You already heard this from Nirja. Okay, so it's very important. And I want to point out item number 8, no conflict of interest. Now, conflict of interest, it's a vague term. Last year, we had someone who said, you know, I think that I could judge in this competition fairly, but I have to say, I'm a very close friend with one of the contestants. She removed herself as an eligible judge. I thought that that was for the best because we do not want any appearance of impartiality. So you are asked to think about your relationship with the people you're going to be judging and to self-report. If you have any questions or you can't decide, you may reach out to me, you may reach out to Kadian or even John, and we will help you make a determination. Now, once we get to the contest, we're going to provide you with the paper ballot. You do not have to print your own ballot in advance. We're going to have them right there at the contest. And every ballot has the same kind of configuration. So we're going to look really, really quickly. The top part here in red, right here, where it says judging items, this is where you list the contestants. And you can put them in any way that you want. I do something really strange. I list mine backwards. So I start over here on the right-hand side of the form, and I'll put the first speaker. It doesn't matter. No one is going to see your scorecard. Now, the reason I do that is I like to bring an envelope. And after I fill out the ballot with all the scores, I cover up those scores as I go to the next contestant. That way I'm not tempted to go, did I give that other guy an 8? Oh, I'm going to give this one a 7. Because that's an unfair comparison. You want to judge that person independently. So this is just a quick and easy way to make your judging blind so that you see each contestant individually. Now, the rest of this is all about scoring. We're going to cover that in detail because we're going to go to the actual form and look at that. So this is just a quick summary. On the back or bottom of the form, this is super important because this is the part of the form that you're going to tear off and hand to the ballot counters. The ballot counters at the contest are the people who pick up your ballot. So you'll tear off this bottom, but before you tear that off, you're going to write in your first, second, and third place winners. And you must sign it. You must sign it. If it's unsigned, we have to toss your ballot. And that may cost someone the contest. So I don't like to hear that. Also, if at all possible, try to print as legibly as possible. You can print, you can write, but we need to be able to read your ballot in order to proper tally the counts. Can't emphasize this enough. When the chief judge at the contest retreats to the ballot counting area with the ballot counters, they first have to make sure that each ballot is valid. If it's missing a signature, it's not valid. If they can't read it, or if you've made weird mistakes, you wrote 2 names in for first and second place, it's not valid. We have to throw those out, and that will skew the results of the contest. Okay? Can't emphasize that enough. Another little tip. I carry scissors and cut mine off, but you can fold it and tear it any way you want. All right. Next screen here. Whoops. Okay. So when you get your ballot, you're going to write your contestants across the top. After each speech, you have approximately 1 minute between speakers to mark your scores. At the end of that contest, you will have a minimum of 2 minutes, but we are no longer going to have the contest chair keep saying to the chief judge, do you need more time? Do you need more time? Instead, what we're going to do this year is we're simply going to wait for the chief judge to signal that all ballots have been collected, and then we will move on. So you will complete your ballot, sign it, tear it off, hold it up so that the ballot counter may collect it. And you may only judge if you've seen all of the contestants. So if you came in late and you missed a contestant, that's a problem. That is a problem. And that will be a discussion that the chief judge will have to navigate. Usually we won't start the contest unless we have all the judges present, but try not to be late. All right, judging criteria. Now, this is the international judging criteria. And as Nirja reminded us, she said they're not all humorous. Sometimes they may be serious. They're not all inspirational. They're not all motivational. So with that being said, it could be a highly entertaining, informational speech. Who knows? Speakers come in all shapes and sizes, and they have all kinds of different ideas. But the criteria does not change. So 50% of that criteria is content, and the other 50% really comes down to presentation. Presentation's divided into delivery and then language. Now, I have a very dear friend. We used to talk about judging because she's the one who said, come on, you have to do this. And she kind of goes easy on judging language unless there are problems, because not everyone in a competition is a native English speaker, but our contests are always conducted in English. So if English is not the first language for one of the competitors, you need to listen hard and make sure that you are fairly judging that language across the board for all of the contestants. Okay. Now, content, super easy to think about. Content is right here. It's going to be on the ballot form. They divide it into numbers, and that includes speech development, the effectiveness of the speech, and the value. Now, I am not going to take you through all of these in great detail because we're going to do some of that at the mock contest, but this is spelled out on the back of the ballot. So it makes sense to familiarize yourself with those ballots before you go to the contest, particularly if you're doing this for the very first time. The second section is delivery, 30% of this. Again, physical, that's the appearance, the body language, speaking area, voice. Did they use great inflection, vocal variety, and then manner? What is their overall directness, self-assurance, or enthusiasm for their topic? And finally, we get down to language, appropriateness to the purpose and to the audience, and then finally correctness. Okay, just a reminder, and you should get this when they do the judges briefing, protest. You must log a protest, and protests are limited to contestants and judges, but you have to log your protest to the chief judge before any results are announced. Once the results are announced, it's over with. There's no going back. The decision of the judges is final. And they will go over this when they do the judges briefing before the contest. Okay. Tie-breaking judges, if you're a tie-breaking judge, you are obligated to perform the role in the same way that you do as a voting judge. But your ballot looks a little different. The only difference is the ballot itself at the bottom, because instead of ranking just 1, 2, and 3, if there's 6 contestants, you are ranking all 6. and that comes directly from your scoring. Now, what we're going to do with the mock contest, we're going to actually take the ballot and we're going to see how the tie-breaking judge kind of stuff works. So you'll get more attention on that. There are a lot of FAQs. Most of those can be found on the Toastmasters.org website. And the one that I think comes up the most is that because we always have a shortage of volunteers. So if, let's just quickly look at this. Farah Lewis right here is, hold on here, I have to move something on my screen because it's in my way. Thank you. Okay, so Farah Lewis was, let's look at the very bottom. She was disqualified from Area A. So she competed and she lost. Is she eligible to serve as a judge over in Area C? You betcha, because she has been out. She's out of competition. But if she wins at Area A, and then Area C calls her up and says, can you come over here and judge? No, she cannot, because she would be judging people she could potentially compete against. So she cannot, if she's actively climbing the ranks in competition, she is not eligible to serve as a judge. Do not worry about this. If you have these weird scenarios, let me know. We will figure them out with you. You are not alone. Okay. I am going to stop the share here and switch over to forms. I do not want to take up a lot of your Monday night. Give me a thumbs up if you are seeing a certification of eligibility and ethics. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit on this. All right, so right up here, name of the contest, what level, you're going to mark this when you fill it out, and the date of the contest. Here are your eligibility criteria, just a reminder. And here's the code of ethics on the back. And this is where your name goes. We need your full name. We need your member number, your district, and your signature. Now, we're collecting these in advance of the contest. I must see signed eligibility forms. And if not, we're going to try really hard to get those contest managers to kick this back and get that signature. Okay? Now, let's go over here to a ballot. This is the International Speech Contest ballot. And you can see right here, here's your content. And then they make it super easy. You got 4 categories: fair, good, very good, and excellent. So if you start with the mindset of what does a good speech look like in your mind, then you can go lower or you can go higher. And you're assigning a number. So over here in the first name, wherever you put that contestant name up here, you would write in the number, and you would do that for each one of these criterion as displayed. At the bottom, you're going to simply add up the column. Hopefully, none of these are the same number. If they're the same number, you have to break your own tie. Now remember, no one sees your scorecard above this dotted line. That scorecard is yours. I have talked to other judges, and I found that it was interesting that a couple of us were talking about how we carry with us a piece of paper, and we make notes about the speech the same way I would if I was evaluating. But that just helps me remember and listen. If there's a phrase that the speaker is saying and it stands out in my mind, if I have to break a tie, I want to be able to go back to my notes and go, oh yeah, that was the speech about this. Remember, Nirja warned you about speaking order. There is a tendency, it's a human nature tendency, to remember the first thing you saw and remember the last thing you saw. But if you've got 6 competitors, those people in the middle might get a little confusing if you don't have some notes. So it's just an idea. So here you go, down at the bottom. Whoops. You would tear off the bottom, write your first, second, and third place. Use the contest program to get the names and spell them correctly. Be sure to sign it and print your name. The back of this, take the time to read it, because this will help you fine-tune the model speech that you are carrying in your head as determined by this criteria. Okay. Now, if you're a tiebreaker judge, I just want to show you the tie-breaking judge, same criteria, same instructions. The only difference is, look down here at the bottom. I'm going to make that a little bigger. There you go. Down here at the bottom, you have to fill out the rank for every single competitor, and you cannot have ties. So even you as the tie-breaking judge. Now remember, the tie-breaking judge, we're going to collect your ballot. The chief judge is going to collect your ballot. That ballot is over here on the side in a sealed envelope. We only open it if the tally team needs to break a tie. All right. We're not going to go over the tall tales, but the criteria, the rules are the same in the tall tales contest. Now, the tall tales contest is a little different. It is only a 3 to 5 minute speech. It is not 5 to 7. And it is supposed to be of an improbable, highly exaggerated content. Okay. But your content is still, there it is, 30% speech development. Delivery in here, 55%. Little skewed, a little different. It's not a 50-50 thing the way it is in the international. In the tall tales, 55% goes to delivery. And then language gets only 15%. But same process. And on the back, here's your ballot, same process, and there's your criteria. So if you're judging in a tall tales contest, you need to review that. Just to show you the tiebreaker, same thing here. Down at the bottom, the tie-breaking judge ranks every single contestant. All right, I'm going to stop the share and let's open this up to any questions you may have so we can end on time. Teos.
Hi, Sarah. And this is a question for you and Nirja. A long time ago, at one of these judges' contests, I heard this line, which was basically a judge can pick their, or rather not pick, have leeway over their criteria, including what points they want to assign to it. How true is that? Or are those criteria and the points assigned to them super rigid?
I'm going to tell you this. Remember, we are presenting the model, the ideal situation for judging. However, as I mentioned, no one sees your score sheet. You must arrive at first, second, and third place. The criteria is created to go along with what we Toastmasters learn is effective communication and effective, exceptional speechcraft. If you want to come up with your own weird numbering system and you can effectively apply that to all contestants across the board privately, because your work is anonymous, you cannot discuss your results. Your work is anonymous, and that tally sheet is private. As a matter of fact, you are going to destroy the tally sheet off-site. Do not put it in the garbage at the venue. Take it with you and destroy it properly. That being said, it's hard for me to say, yeah, you can kind of do your own thing. We gave you the criteria. That's the criteria we want you to use. But honest to goodness, what you do on your tally sheet is going to be between you and the Toastmaster goddess.
Yeah, okay.
It's just, it is a guideline. Just consider it as a guideline. then take that
Okay.
and assess the speech. So it's a framework. That's all.
Yep. It's a good, and it's very helpful, especially when you're very first starting. I've talked to a couple of judges who have judged for years. My very dear friend named Dory, and Dory taught for Dale Carnegie. She's just been out there a long time. I don't know how she does it, but she kind of uses a scale of 1 to 5. And she told me it's simply because she doesn't want to do the math. So she just has a way of scoring, and I have judged right next to her, and we will arrive pretty much at the same results. Excellent speakers simply show up.
One more thing I will say is judges don't sit next to each other though.
Oh, yeah. You can't like look at each other. No.
Yeah.
And also, usually we want you seated at the front of the room. Isn't that what Sue, isn't that what we normally recommend? We kind of put them
front line, front row.
Front part of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Front part of the room. We usually have the contestants in the front, so they can't see who's
so the judges, right.
But the contestants usually, when practical, the judges, when practical, we've asked them to sit towards the edges of rows so the ballot counters can pick the ballots up easily. They don't have to walk through 10,000 people. Many of the venues are a little on the smaller size, excuse me, but we ask them to sit towards the edges of rows. Contestants, we ask to sit towards the front. This way, they don't have to spend a long time getting to the front, and they don't see what's going on behind them. Yeah.
And this.
We also put placeholders on the chairs when practical, like reserved for, you don't write judge, but reserved for contest official. Reserved for contest official. And you tell your contest officials, please sit in one of the seats reserved for contest official.
Right. This is a best practice, and it is something that should be covered in the judge's briefing. So each contest may be slightly different depending on the contest chair and the chief judge and the venue. So anyway, Pamela Johnson had a question.
Actually, I had a comment or a recommendation, and it probably will be covered in the judge's briefing. But there is a limited amount of time for a judge to calculate their score. To save time, I suggest that you immediately sign your forms in advance. So we're not wasting time later, waiting for you to sign it before you rip it off so you can give it to the ballot counter. We want you to spend your time focused on assessing the speakers.
Yep. Excellent comment. Other questions?
To go along with that, Sarah, there is a question about the unsigned ballot in the chat.
Yeah.
Someone asks, if it's not signed when picked up, can you ask that they sign it?
We're not supposed. You can?
So what happens is, as long as the ballot counter has not taken that in the room, so you are collecting and you noticed,
okay,
right away tell sign, right? You just give the hint. But if you have taken that and then you went to the room, then you cannot come and say, oh, sign. You got the difference? So your integrity of the contest is not compromised.
Right.
So then it would matter if you want your ballot counters to look, because most ballot counters just collect, they don't look. So
we can train them to just glance and say, is it signed?
Yes.
That would be a great advantage, because it is heartbreaking to be in the counting room and have to toss a ballot. Narendra, I saw you motion.
Right. I noticed this in one of the contests. when they try to open it, people are around them. So we need to make sure they are not opening in front of everybody.
Right.
Because
It
we're
should
very
kind of
close.
be,
Yeah, we
has
are
to-
very closely sitting there. Yes.
yes. Yeah. One word about being anonymous. I personally kind of giggle a little bit about this because the minute a judge holds up a ballot, everybody knows they're a judge. There is not any way around this. This has been the Toastmaster practice forever. It's not likely to change. So do the best you can to make yourself anonymous and not discuss your results. As opposed to standing up and going, "Hey, I got my ballot." No, we don't want you to do that either. but I mean, the practicality is the minute you flash it for the ballot counter. I mean, I went to the international speech this summer, and it was like I could count where all the judges were because they were still picking up the ballots. But in the spirit of the competition, your scoring is private. And I mean private. That doesn't mean you get to go out into the hallway after the contest and go, I scored them this way and that way, and on and on and on. That would not be good form. Other questions, comments?
I do have another in the chat. Lorena, can we get the email again? Which email is that, Lorena?
My email?
Yes, your email, sorry.
I'll put that in the chat for everybody.
Good. I have no more questions, but a couple of comments.
You will share this recording in an email, right?
Yes.
Yes. Also identify contestants by first name, last name on the ballot. I think Sarah said that. And Sue said you were using an old eligibility form. The new one has the online on it as well.
They corrected it on a later slide.
Yes. In the presentation, that is the older form.
Okay.
The one I shared with you is brandy new. I pulled it off of Toastmasters.org tonight.
Yeah, I saw the new one. I saw the old one, then I saw the new one.
Thank you for being eagle eyes. We will make certain that TM83 resources has only the most current version. Okay. We are trying to get away from having judges download their own and getting the wrong forms because it still happens. But if we can work with our contest managers, which are the area directors and division directors, to help guide form collection, we should be able to get everybody on the correct form and the most recent version. Others?
Sue,
Okay.
Sue has a question.
Sue,
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you for recognizing me. One of the things I found, one or more of the contests that Sarah and Narendra were with me earlier in the year, I think it was February or something. One of the things we did that worked out, in my opinion, quite successfully, we just talked earlier about anonymity and trying to be discreet. I introduced the ballot counters to the judges prior to the contest beginning. I said, for example, Sarah, this is Lorena. Lorena's a ballot counter, etc. Narendra, this is Lorena. Lorena's a ballot counter, etc. So it wasn't Lorena, it was somebody she works with. But anyway, so this way, Sarah and Lorena know each other, Lorena and Narendra know each other. So the ballot counters can go right to the judges and they don't have to hover. I learned that from Cindy. Don't hover, but just kind of stand discreetly, and then it will seamlessly happen with the collection.
Absolutely. I think when we do the judges briefing, ballot counters should be involved. And there should also be some training for the ballot counters that I know what works well for me is that as a contest manager, a chief judge, I bring the folders and I tell them we have 5 judges, we have 7 judges. That means there needs to be 7 pieces of paper in this folder. And there's a separate folder for every single contest. And it just keeps everything very simple, very simple. But I do appreciate the comment about introducing, yes, folders and clipboards. They make us look official too. We feel very important that day. Anything else? We're 6 minutes over time. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I will tell you that we are adding your names to our master judge list. It does not obligate you in any way, but it simply states that you've attended training and that you might be approached to volunteer in one of our contests. And we will be collecting even more names and trying to make that list grow.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Don't forget, mock contest, Saturday. I'm going to start sending out reminders tomorrow. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Should be fun.